Dr. Carol Lieberman's with us. She can help us out here. She's an expert psychiatrist. She can look at somebody and know what they're thinking. Don't look at me, Carol. Look at Alec. What do you think? When you see him after a bit of incarceration, he still has a little pep in his step, more so than the average inmate?
Well, I think he's lost a little weight. It was very interesting to see his expressions, because I think his lawyers have sold to him the idea that what the Becky Hill did is going to get him a new trial. They're going to overthrow the verdict, overturn it, and he's going to get a new trial. I think they really sold that to him. And as the judge, I think, this is a good judge for this, because I think as the judge was saying that he was going to be not having this be a wholesale fishing expedition, to find things that Becky Hill might have done, not only in her book, but in conversations, in all of this, that he's not going to allow that. So he was looking crestfallen by the end. I read Becky Hill's book. I am sort of torn. I don't think that she purposely, well, it's clear in her book, she makes it clear that she doesn't like Alex Murdaugh, that she thinks he's guilty. Her family goes back with his family for quite some time. There are interesting things in her book that could kind of make you think either way, but I think she was somewhat naive, as far as she was looking towards this. She wanted to be on the Today Show. She talked about accompanying the jurors, and you could tell, she was having these dreams of her being on the show with her book and so on. But, so whether that goes beyond beyond someone who's sort of naive, she's also a cancer survivor. I don't know that we should just hang her up. I mean, I don't think that this is clear, that she actually said something or purposely did something to get a guilty verdict.
Yeah, and to your point, Her Honor is going to keep this very focused with the questioning and not allow it to get into an assassination of Becky Hill's character completely. It'll be focused, as you heard her articulate, and she'll be doing the questioning of the jurors and Ms. Hill, of the jurors. And then when they come back, which we're expecting in just a couple minutes, we'll get the lay of the land. How are they going to do it? Will we be able to listen at least, that juror anonymity, the juror, that question brought up by the defense, good one. Our Bootlian said, yeah, we're concerned about it, but let's face it, these people are out there, and we'll see how the judge handles that. Dr. Carol Lieberman's with us, watching along, and she's in Los Angeles. She is an expert trial consultant, also a forensic psychiatrist. And you alluded to it before we took the break, Carol, that it seems as though maybe Alec was a bit crestfallen where he felt where this thing was going, so narrow, that his odds of getting a new trial are still very long, even though these are significant allegations against Becky Hill. Let's say he does get a new trial. I'm not seeing any difference, because is he going to get up there and take the stand? And that went over like a lead balloon the first time around.
Right. If I think if he gets a no trial, that it's probably going to be the same result, although it could be, I guess, a hung jury. That would be a possibility. And also the question of how much the publicity from, all of this about Becky Hill and the book and all of that, how much that might be influencing jurors. I don't know. I think that they should just stick with the. We could be having the Murdaugh trial going on forever. So it would be a shame to retry him. There's just one thing in her book. As I was saying before, I don't think that she purposely set about influencing the jury. Could it have been happening inadvertently because of her own unconscious feelings towards Alec Murdaugh? Yes, that is definitely possible. There was one point in the book where she talks about the jury going on a site visit. and about how everybody was kind of looking at everybody, like, you know, that you weren't supposed to speak, no one was speaking, but they were just looking at each other, and you could kind of tell by the way they were looking at each other what they were thinking. So that was the only part where I thought to myself, you know, was she communicating with her eyes what she was thinking about the site and about him and so on? That's possible.
And what about the juror in that position? Most jurors are, especially in a high-profile case, they're looking for anything and everything as they evaluate. How much of an effect of a over-exuberant clerk realistically have on a juror who knows that his or her task is to evaluate the truth and come to a verdict? Are you really swayed by, all right, well, the clerk thinks she did it. That's obvious. Does that mean that you then just go lockstep with the clerk? There's a live picture.
You know, they could be thinking that she knows more than they do, that she's behind the scenes. You know, her book was called Behind the Doors of Justice, so they could be thinking that she knows a lot more than they do.
Yeah, that's a good point. And if you take him out of the equation, one would think that the state appellate process would eventually give the individual that was subjected to this a new trial. I mean, this is the way it works, right? The appellate courts do this all the time. This does seem like a case where there's a very good chance he can get a new trial.